Tara Jacobson, Artsy Fartsy Life, and today we are going to make these wicked cool silhouettes using magazine collage. We are going to make magazine masks. I have a background that I just whipped up with some spray ink, some Seth Apter, some dilutions, a little bit of Archival ink, because I wanted something to be the background. So this is going to be yellow. And I wanted to do it out of inks because I want to do a ton of embossing and things like that. And if you use acrylics, which is my favorite, you can't do as much embossing because you really shouldn't heat acrylics because they're already plastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out this girl and this boy, and they're going to be our masks and our backgrounds. So I will be back to show you that next step. I'm going to take my handy dandy Le Pen. I love my Le Pen. Actually, first I'm going to get a piece of washi tape and kind of stick my gal and my guy down so they don't move while I outline them. Because now I'm going to be making the masks of these people. Okay, so I'm going to put the washi tape on kind of a straight part, and that way I can come back in. So first off, the people themselves are going to be the focus of this, and they're going to be silhouettes. I'm not sure yet what they're going to be, but I also want to have the ability to mask around them so that I can do some fun stuff with different, say I'm doing some embossing or something like that, I may want to mask around them. It doesn't hurt to have them. That's why I'm gonna cut this in half and make two different masks. So I'm gonna be right back. And this is just, this is a little bit heavy. I think it's mixed media paper, which is, you want to use good paper for this, right? Because these cutouts, when they're out of the paper, are going to actually be what you're going to use in your artwork. So now let's trace around. I got to kind of get her arm a little bit more full because that was where she touched. She was behind him. So now we're just going to go. And you don't have to do this perfectly, which is good because I hardly do anything perfectly. But the cool thing is you get the shape of a people. So it's funny, I'll see people drawing things and I love that, and I would love to be able to draw an outline of a person, but I'm not that talented. But I can cut and trace like a crazy woman. And these magazine images, they always have such neat shapes because they're trying to, you know, if you've ever watched America's Next Top Model or any of those, they're always telling them to have different shapes and angles, and so that will make my artwork interesting. All right, let's do the top of her, and then we'll take our washi tape off when we get to that part. And I'm not using this girl for anything. I guess you could use her as a cutout and do something with her. And washi tape, if you don't know, is super pretty, but super low tack. So it's not a good actual tape because it comes right off. You saw it came right off of there. But the nice thing about it is it comes right off of if you're doing something like this. So I'm going to outline him and be back. So now I used my Tim Holtz tonic scissors for my fussy cutting. And I cut down my big piece of paper to the size that goes in my journal that I'm working on now. Uh-oh, it's upside down, which would have been fine, but I'm kind of glad I checked that it was right side up. And this is not quite 8.5 by 11 because I want her to be able to stick up over the top. It's a little bit of a feminist thing, but having been through this rodeo once, I reinforced her head so it's not just one piece. So we're going to have her over here. We're going to have him over here, and they're going to be black. So we're going to do a bunch of black stuff to them. But I also want to have, you know, kind of, I guess, a shadow of them or a, you know, maybe some people, which is why I made the mask. So I'm gonna take this right now and make a shadow thing with that, because I kind of want this to stay tight on here. So we're gonna tape it down. I don't care if it's a little smudgy, because everything is a little smudgy, but I don't want it to be crazy smudgy, because the background is gonna remain, except for I'm gonna do a lot of black stuff, but the background is gonna remain really monochromatic with this yellow. So we want to have it somewhat stay that same color. And the best way to do that is this. And this is the mask. This is what I cut this girl that we're gonna have out of. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a little water down, because the inks move better if they have water. And then I'm gonna use this after, because it says does not clog, and it hardly ever clogs. Okay, we don't want this to move too much, so I'm actually gonna stop that relatively quickly. And that's fine, if that goes under a little, that's okay, because we're gonna come in here and I'm gonna dry this. Okay, and then we're gonna use our mask to make stripes. And I have these Tim Holtz shifter stripe stencils. So what you do is you do the stripe this way, and then you flip it over and you do the other stripe. So we're gonna do stripes. Do we want all different? Yeah, let's do different line stripes. And I think, and this is really weird for me, I think I want my stripes to be diagonal. Ooh. Do we want that? Will it creep me out? I kind of want them diagonal. Well, let's try them diagonal. It can't hurt anything. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Archival ink, same colors as I've used. I used it back here. So I'm not introducing any other colors. I'm just introducing a different pattern to this. And I like that they're big and little stripes. And I kind of have to go, usually you would do like a circular motion with your dies, but I have to go along this pattern, along this line. We got stripes. Okay, that's kind of what I wanted. It's hard to see where the ink is really full, right? But I just wanted this to be subtle. Okay, cool. All right, now I'm gonna use this side of the mask as a hinge. Actually, I'm gonna use this side because it's hooked to the paper. And we're gonna see what happened. We're gonna see what we like. And see, it's like a shadow of her. I love that. I think that turned out really well. Okay, so what we're gonna do now though, is we're really gonna accentuate the little edge of her. Maybe just on this one side. We're gonna try that first. That's why having a mask is so cool, is you can try stuff and not feel so, you know, burdened by it. Okay, let's see what happens. Do we wanna do the other side of her leg? Do our complete shadowing. Okay, let's use our hinge. See what happens. Ooh, see, now you can see the side of her better. Now, do I want to see all of her better? Okay, let's think about this. No, I don't. But she's going to be up here like this. Or is she? Is she really going to be a shadow? No, I like her up here like this. Like she's very far down. Okay, I love her. She's doing well. I am not going to get rid of my mask. Okay, let's do that same thing over here with him. He's going to be way lower. It's not a real shadow, right? A real shadow would be the right way. But let's go ahead and make a hinge for him. So we want this side with the washi tape. I know something I'm going to do here too. This is going to be cool. You're going to love this. Okay, so now we're going to do our Seth yellow. Oops, spray on water first. Help the ink. No clog, right? Wipe you off. And if I wasn't doing a video, I would probably, like I'm already made this extra piece of paper from some of this stuff that I'm doing. because it's always good to use these little, ooh, there's a little green in there. That's exciting. Maybe it came off the edge of the stencil. Maybe it's the black, but it's still super subtle. All I care about is that this is super subtle because I want this to be background, not foreground. My black people are gonna be, these guys in silhouette are gonna be the stars of the show. Okay. The reason I'm using Archival over here to do the shading, I don't know if he's gonna have stripes yet. I think he might have, well, we already have circles. Maybe he has to have stripes or he won't be too exciting. I tend to love circles, but I think that we could do stripes. Okay, stripes. Let's do that. But the Archival is permanent, so it won't move. If you used regular distress ink, not the Archival kind, then it would move around if it got wet, and there's a good chance some of this is going to get wet. Okay, look how cool that looks. Okay, I want a little bit more on this side of his leg. There we go. That's why you want to be able to flip it. And maybe a teeny bit, I don't think you'll see his shoulder, but just in case. Okay, I love that. All right, I'm gonna stop here, get my stuff together, and we're gonna start working on the black silhouette people. Okay, so now we're gonna start on this, oh, that's not black, hold on. Well, I have Archival black here anyways. So I have a whole bunch of black things, but I have this gray dark soot. So I have Dilutions black spray, I have iZinc black pigment, I've got black soot, distress Reinker, water, and these pigments. And then I have this zinc ice, which is really cool stuff. I'll show you that. But what I want to do is so if I just do black on black on black, right? Black is not a color. So I'm going to start with some gray. And let's get these guys wet. And this is oxide. So this will be, this is going to be opaque. Do I have my guys right? Yeah, he's facing this way. She's facing this way. All right, so we're going to, oh yeah, and we have that yellow thing, which probably will not stay yellow for very long. Okay, so let's try this, and then let's do a little bit more. I just want to get some depth and some color in here. Ooh, let's get her head. Okay, so now we still have black soot under here. Dirty soot, something. Hickory smoke. Okay, hickory smoke. So we're going to go one more time through this, just to get something to have if you have nothing underneath, then there's no contrast, right? Then you don't have any anything for the black to be contrasted with. Okay, so I want to start by having a pattern in my black, and because I've already used circles here, I'm going to use the same circles. You don't want to have too many different competing patterns. That doesn't always work too great. So I'm going to do this. Okay, and so we have the front circles on him. We can do the back circles on her. Oops, I really knocked you around there. Okay. All right. Okay, I like that. Yeah, because I just want pattern in them. Oh, maybe I need a little bit more. Let's do the top of their heads and their feet to get like a nice line. Okay. All right. I need a piece of paper. So I have this. I want to not waste all this. Where's my rag? Ooh, that'll help that piece of paper have a little bit of texture. And like I said, normally I would go through and I would soup all this up. But just for you guys, because I love you, I'm gonna clean this up and not make you watch me do my soupy stuff. All right, so now we're gonna dry this. We're starting to get a little bit of pattern. I like that. Okay, so now we've done this. Now we have some dark soot distress ink, Reinker, and I think I want this to be really, really dark. See how I love how this side's getting dark? So let's see what happens if we go with the Reinker. Use a dark paintbrush since this thing's, but this is liquid, so it's going to be, or this is water soluble, so it'll come out of my brush really well. All right, let's do this, because I want a really dark edge on this side. We can always squirt it with water and lighten it up if we need to. And I can pull this from up here. Now this is a Reinker. These are things that you, and I'm gonna do, of course, on this side of her leg. These are how you re-ink the distress pads, the water-soluble ones, water-reactive ones, but they're also good to use for paint. Let's leave her for right now and see what happens. We could even give her a squirt of water and see what happens, but let's do him. Let's kind of get around the top of his head. And this is super, super concentrated ink because it's what you would use to refresh your ink pads. A nice thing about it is I tend to do lots of things that, so if I used an Archival Reinker, then we're done, right? Like that would be everything we could do with it because it's permanent and it would be on your hands for a while permanently. But this gives us a little bit of play. We can figure out if we like how it looks, if we want to, we could use a little water and pull it out, right? So let's see what happens when that dries. Okay. So these aren't entirely dry because I live in Florida and they're probably never going to dry. No, I mean, they will dry sometime, but let's look and see what they look like so far. So I want them to be solid black eventually. So you can just sort of see their things. So let's think about what we want to do next. The last thing I want to do on them is this ice, which is kind of a glaze that goes over it. But I think in the meantime, I want to emboss them with some cool, more texture. And my favorite stamp, I'm gonna make these guys with solid dark embossing on them, and then I'm going to do these guys with light embossing on them, I think. But anyways, I'm going to use black embossing. So this is Versamark. Everybody always wants to know what everything is, so that's in Versamark. And we are going to emboss these guys. I need my Who's the laziest crafter? You can use the top of the embossing thing if you're too lazy to go find your block. So we're going to get this inked up. And I think based on what I see here, I want the whole thing to have this black embossing. And it's not going to be perfect because I'm overlapping and whatever. But we already have numbers on the other part. So I think this is going to work well. And good crafters are going to be so proud of me. I bought some Heidi Swapp stamp cleaner because, let's make sure this... Aha! because I've been doing so much embossing, and as you know, embossing, this Versamark is actually glue to make the embossing liquid work. And so if I didn't clean my stamps, I would wind up with just a sticky mess. And I do so much embossing that I thought, oh, for my birthday, I went and I bought Heidi Swapp embossing cleaner. Look at that. Oh, my bottle's already dirty. But we are gonna, and this will work because it works on her MISC stuff, which is glue, right? So functionally, whatever this cleaner is going, oh, look at that. My stamp is clean. It's going to be something that takes, that's kind of a solvent that takes stuff off. So that worked. All right. I'm putting my very favorite stamp back where it belongs. And I am going to get my embossing tray. I love this embossing tray. Okay, I don't want any light colors on it though. And I was embossing in white yesterday. So today we're doing black. And I am going to be using very fine embossing powder black. Okay. So the time that you can, as soon as you get the embossing powder on this, onto the glue of the embossing, the Versamark, you can wait forever then to heat set it, right? It's the getting the crystals onto the glue that you have to kind of, you don't have to, I don't have to hurry at all because I live in Florida. But if you live in a dry climate, like when we lived in Colorado, I had to hurry a little bit more. Okay. And I love this tray. I know you could use a piece of paper, but I always forgot to get a piece of paper, and then I would have to run and get my piece of paper. And this to me just feels so much fancier. Okay, so now we have these two. And I am going to wipe this off because I got some embossing powder on it. Boop. Okay, guys. All right, here we go. And we're going to emboss. So I am going to take my fancy embossing hat pin and hold this down and then emboss. Okay, I know there are some people who do not like the shiny glossiness of embossing, but I love the shiny glossiness of embossing. So I am thrilled with how this is going. Let's put them on. It's kind of like cooking. You want to keep checking your people and making sure you love them. Okay, I'm in love. I absolutely adore this. I think they're done. I may not do anything more for them, but I want to do stuff in the back. Okay, so those are going to be the blackest things, the biggest things, but I want to have some delicate black around. And then I'm going to really zing up the back with some more embossing and things like that. But we're going to start with, this is a very delicate type, like writing, and so I want a little bit behind them. I want to anchor them to this page because right now they feel like, to me, like they're floating on the page, and I know that if I do this, I'm going to anchor them to the page. So we're only going to use as much as our Versamark top will allow us. Okay, and we're going to do this over here. And then we're going to do this over here. Okay. And then we're going to see if we like it. This was super heavy. This is going to be super light. Now, for those of you who are purists and would want this to be perfect, you're going to be unhappy. But what's happened with me is you'll see the stripes have gotten some black on them. The stuff has gotten some black. I'm totally fine with that. If you did not want that to happen, first off, you would let your piece of paper dry. And second off, you would then have to use one of the anti-static things. But I actually love that. Oh yeah, that is stunning. Okay, I am loving where we're going here, people. Okay, so now we have to figure out, do we want more in the black in the back? And I do not think so. I think I am going to make this monochromatic, yellow and black. I think I like how they are. I don't think I want them to be more black. I might go in and do some, well, I kind of like the juxtaposition of the matte background and the clear top. So if I were to go over and coat these guys, I would probably do it with matte Mod Podge so that they would be plain. But now we need to, well, I guess we don't need to. Now I want to fancy up the background a bunch with some more embossing. So there's a couple things I'm going to do. I am going to use Heidi Swapp products incorrectly. So Heidi Swapp has this stuff, foil transfer medium, which you put down and it's for her mink, and it makes the foil stick to things. But what I have found with it, and this is exciting stuff, is that it makes an amazing embossing powder. All right, so we're going to do a couple things here. We're going to have some white embossing powder. We're going to have some fossilized amber distress powder. And we're going to use this to make patterns, okay? And again, we don't want to use a million different patterns because I've already used a bunch of different things. So I am going to go back to circles. These are, so let's cover up our embossing pad for right this second. We can use these circles. Okay, so I'm going to take this and then I'm going to grab wash. Okay, I'm going to take some of this. I don't know how much I'll need, and I'm going to use it in here. Well, I'm going to need a lot more than that because I want to be able to see the circles. Okay, so we're going to come up here. And I'm just trying to work this through. And see, there's some black. I'm fine with that. That is fine. I want to go to the other end of this. Because predominantly, it's going to be white or yellow under here. Okay. All right. So now I am going to put this in my wash this thing. And I'm going to get my tray. I got to knock all my black out of here because I don't want black in here. And I'm going to yellow distress it. Now the yellow is opaque, so it's not going to cover up that black, but anywhere it's yellow is going to be super, super yellow. Okay? And everybody who worries about mixing their colors or having something not go right, I have always found that whenever something didn't go right, it turned out to be such a happy accident that I never, ever, ever, ever worry about making a mistake in art. And my father-in-law, who is a 35-year teacher in the New York school system, says there's no mistakes in art, so I believe him. All right, we're going to emboss. It takes a little longer to do the embossing on that because you actually have to dry her product underneath it. And if your sheet starts to curl, do not worry because your sheet will curl. Let's find our guys, see how we're going. Oh, I love this. Look at that. It's like she has a place to rest, and he's doing good. I like where we're going. I feel like I want some white too, though. So let's do a white stamp. Maybe we'll do a mix of yellow and white because I like how dirty and grungy that kind of got. So now I have some movement around the thing. But let's do, ooh, but I have my number stencil that I used earlier. Do we want to use that? I kind of want to use that. So we're going to take our Versamark stamp pad and go over this, and it should cover lots of that. So the embossing should cover a lot of that. And then let's get some good, I actually need to move this down here. I've done this before. So I know if I just do the big numbers, you can't even tell they're numbers. Okay, so we'll do that. And then let's do our stamp cleaner. Oh, that Heidi Swapp knows what she's doing. Let's do, we want to do white on this? Let's try white on this. But there's a little yellow in here. That won't hurt anything. Okay, so this is white, super fine. You know what else our fancy hat pin is good for? Opening things. Okay, I like that. Let's see what happens down here. Woohoo, look at that, you guys. That's fancy. I don't know if you can tell it's the same numbers, but as you can tell, I always say when I'm making my stuff that you shouldn't get too attached to any of it, number one, of course, and number two, that you shouldn't be upset with mistakes or anything because there's so many layers that you do that you'll never see those. So let's go ahead and do this. Ooh, look at that. Nice. Ooh, I feel like that makes such a nice corner up there. I like Superfine because it does a great job. I hate Superfine because I get it all over me. Okay. I sort of feel, oh, let's look at our people because maybe we want some places for them to rest. And I do have one more thing. Okay, I've kind of lost her shadow, which is fine because now she's jumping out even more against that white. I like him. He's doing good. Ooh, that's really nice. All right, here is the final, all glued down, all finished. I think this turned out amazing. And I love how the black and the yellow contrast each other so well.